So something that came up while I was DJing here. So when a lot of these bigger, more fancy venues, right, they make a big deal out of dessert. So this may or may not apply to you depending on, what your venues do or whatever in your area. But we do something that's super common. That's called the Viennese hour, okay? Not the Venetian hour, the Viennese hour. So many people call it the Venetian hour. It's not the Venetian hour. The Viennese hour is essentially, it's an Italian tradition. Maybe that's where Venetian comes from. I don't know. Don't count. But everyone calls it Viennese around here anyway. But it's definitely an Italian tradition. It's essentially an hour-long dessert where it's usually in a separate room, and it's basically the most ridiculous dessert of all time. Like any dessert that's ever been made is in that room. Everything, you have chefs that are live cooking, like banana Fosters and creme brulees and shit, and there's cake and cupcakes and cookies and ice cream, every type of dessert you can ever think of, right? Unlimited, right? It's just like it's a very extravagant thing. And it's common in all these kind of, fancy venues or whatever. And it's a tough thing because it's a Viennese hour, so it's open for an hour, and if you're not used to this, or if you don't do this all the time, it can really, put a damper on your party, because it always goes like this. You're dancing them, right? And the party's going and everything's great. And then it's either like the last hour or like, some hour in between where we cut the cake and then they open that up, and you're going to lose guests, right? Like people are going to go over there. They're going to smell it. They're going to go eat their dessert and drink their coffee and all that shit. They have like a coffee station where they'll add Baileys and all kinds of cool stuff for Angelica and all that stuff to coffee, And it's a tough thing as a DJ on how to handle it. And I figured I had 2 this weekend, so I figured I would give you guys some tips on how to handle this sort of thing when, you have it, what to do with dessert. And in general, too, even if you don't have a Viennese hour, what do you do with dessert, okay? I'm going to show you how I handle it. This is my method. Is it the only way? No, okay. Is it the best way? I think so. But, whatever. Let me know in the comments if you don't think it's the best way. But to me, this is what I do, okay? Number 1, you got to know what's happening ahead of time, okay? I always ask ahead of time. I'll ask the couple during the meetings, and I'll ask the maitre d', triple check with them the day of, when we're doing stuff. Like, hey, what's dessert looking like tonight, Some venues will just say, no, we're just doing cake. We're just serving cake, so we're going to cut the cake and serve it at the tables, and that's it, right? Some venues will have, dessert trays they'll bring around to the tables, still serving at the tables, and that's it. Some venues will have just a table of desserts. No, we're going to open up our dessert table right over there, and you got to announce it, and people can go up and have dessert. And then some venues will have a full-on Viennese hour, separate room, obnoxious-ass dessert. So you got to know where you're at with the dessert situation, right? Is it going to be something where guests are going to leave the room, or are they going to be in the room? What's happening, essentially, okay? Number 2, no matter what the dessert situation, you have to handle it the same way. At least that's what I do, okay? I handle it the same way no matter what the dessert situation is. At first, you announce it, you play a modest banger, and you see what happens, okay? You announce it, you say, hey, listen, you bring the music down a little bit, you're probably dancing at this point, you announce it, you say, hey, dessert is now being opened up, right? Dessert's being served, you have a sweet tooth, whatever, help yourself, okay? You play a modest banger. Now, what I mean by modest banger, a lot of people make the mistake and they play a slow song, or they play something whack, okay? Because, we're bringing it back down for dessert. So they look at it like a dinner kind of thing, I guess. You don't want to do that. You want to play a modest banger, not a banger, not like a bomb. You don't want to drop like a crazy song, like a peak hour dance song, because it could be wasted. You know what I mean? You don't want to waste it there. And you also don't want to look like you're forcing it, which is going to be another tip, right? A modest banger. A one I usually do is Ain't No Mountain High Enough, right? Great song, great sing-along. The way it comes in, it kind of comes in a little soft. The doom, right? It comes in a little soft, so it's kind of modest. I play Ain't No Mountain High Enough peak hour dancing, like, you know what I mean? So it is like a banger, but it's a modest banger. It's like in between, right? And then people sing along and bop, and you kind of give people the choice, right? Watch what happens. You play that. Some people will stay on the dance floor and jam, right? Some people may even come out to the dance floor. This is their jam, right? And they want to come sing along to it or whatever. Other people might go to dessert and go tackle dessert. They can't wait for dessert, all right? I know people that love desserts. Their favorite part of every meal, and they don't miss one dessert. They go up, they're crushing it, right? See what people do. This will tell you how to handle the situation moving forward. Now, you'll notice that crowd size has a lot to do with this, because if you have a crowd that's over 200 something people, chances are you're still going to be able to keep 30, 40 people on the dance floor, just as a numbers game, as a percentage thing during dessert. So you might as well just keep dancing going and keep it pushing. And then as people get dessert and they finish, they'll join, and you slowly build it up from there. So you'll take a little hit to the dance floor, but it's not going to clear your dance floor. You're still going to have a pretty packed dance floor just because there's so many people, right? If you have less people, then this could take a hit. You might be left with 5, 10 people, maybe nobody. Maybe sometimes I've called dessert out. Everybody goes dessert. I don't know, nobody. I'm left with the 2 people just on the dance floor, just still two-stepping, all right, are we the only ones kind of thing? And they're going to leave too soon, right? So it just depends. So you want to, don't slow it down, play a modest banger and see what happens. Because, of course, if you have the opportunity to continue to dance them, if they don't care about dessert or whatever, then you could slowly kind of keep playing the modest stuff and build it back up and still keep a solid dance floor and keep people having fun and not let the air out of the room when you don't need to, right? It just, trust me. Now, and I just literally, so if they don't dance, right? I always go ahead of my slides. If they don't dance, right? If you play the banger and they kind of just bop along and they end up going to dessert or whatever, then keep it upbeat, okay? Don't put people to sleep, all right? But play in between stuff. My go-to is either, so I'll do Motown stuff, right? Or I'll do R&B. What's the Too Close? The Baby When You're Crying, and the song, what the hell's that song called? The song that's about a boner. And then it feels, I don't know the words to anything. The song that's about the boner. Anyway, Usher, you know what I mean? Like down tempo type R&B stuff. That's another thing. Almost I'll go into my club opening folder, my bar opening folder, where it's all that R&B type, just vibes, you know what I mean? Kind of singing along, T-Pain type shit, Bedrock by Lil Wayne, stuff like that, right? Just kind of just vibing along. So I usually take one of those 2 lanes. I like the R&B lane or I like the Motown lane. You're keeping people bopping, you're keeping people engaged, you're keeping the vibe up, people are singing along, everything else. And then those are 2 easy genres where you can easily build up into banger songs. So it's an easy transition. You don't have to do a full reset, right? A hard reset is only worst case scenario to me, right? To actually play a slow song, bring everybody back out and all that. I want to just bring it down, have people bopping, and then slowly build a dance floor back up organically from dessert and let people eat. I mean, people, they spend, first of all, the couple spends a lot of money on the dessert. So give them an opportunity to go and everything. Make sure you announce it. Don't not announce it. Don't blacklist the announcement. A lot of DJs do that. Definitely announce it, right? They paid good money for it. And it's a good thing. Dessert, they're going to get a sugar high, right? They're going to drink coffee. This is going to revitalize your crowd, honestly, unless they're fat fucks and they eat everything and they give themselves the itis. But most people will take a little nibble of this, take a little nibble of that, get all pumped on sugar and keep it pushing, so you don't want to force it. Do not force anything, and it just looks awkward when you force it. People can tell, so just know what's happening, okay? Know what's happening, play it the right way, see what the crowd does, and take it from there. Trust me on this, okay? Don't slow it down, but don't force it and just go straight through either. And then bitch that, man, I can't stand these big desserts. It clears my dance floor every time. You gotta roll with the punches, okay? You gotta play with it, right? Play with what's happening. Trust me.